Thanks for downloading another segment from the Best of the Classic Metal Show. The Classic Metal Show is heard live on Saturdays from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com. And now here's another piece of Classic Metal Show history on the Best of the Classic Metal Show.
The Classic Metal Show.
From the album Heaven Is Gone, that's a brand new band called Seventh Void with a song called Last Walk in the Light. And on the phone right now we have the drummer of Seventh Void, and some of you may remember him from his other band, the one and only Johnny Kelly. Johnny, how you doing, man?
Hey, how are you?
Excellent, dude. Well, Johnny, obviously, man, Seventh Void, a new project for you. You're most well known for being one of the guys in Type O Negative. So I guess an obvious place to start is, why a new band and what's up with Type O that you have time to do this?
Well, Type O has always had a history of taking quite a bit of time in between records and stuff, and this was something that Kenny and I started working on years ago. That would, when there was downtime with Type O Negative, we'd try to fill it with working on this. And now, finally, after almost 6 years, the record's finally seeing the light of day. Now,
with Seventh Void, it's clearly not the kind of project that people would expect from guys from Type O. I mean, it's not doomy and gothy and like that. It's more alternative / rock. It's got like almost like a Soundgarden vibe with a stoner rock feel to it. Is this stuff that you've been interested in throughout your career, or is it just trying a new direction that you hadn't tried before?
Well, I guess first off, to do something outside of Type O Negative that would sound like Type O Negative is kind of redundant. There really wouldn't be any, it wouldn't serve any purpose creatively. As far as like what Type O Negative does, I'm pretty satisfied in that realm with what we do. And really, more of like the bands that you referred to, like Soundgarden, and we've been compared a little bit to Alice in Chains. But I also hear a lot of things like the classic rock stuff that both Kenny and I grew up on. Things like Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, and even AC/DC. Like a lot of Kenny's vocal approach reminds me, it's very reminiscent to me of Bon Scott. So really it was just more about just doing stuff that we were into that's outside of what Type O Negative does.
Sure. Now, the one thing that probably surprises a lot of people is that Kenny can sing. I mean, obviously with Peter Steele out in front of Type O, you would really never see that. But, at what point did you guys realize that Kenny had a voice, and, how did it come to play that he was the vocalist for this project?
Really, he became the vocalist just out of circumstance. But throughout Type O Negative's career, Kenny has taken more of a role in the vocal aspect of what we do, and he does a lot of answering sometimes to what Peter sings. Kenny will counter it, and over the years, people have been saying that it's it's really cool to hear Kenny sing, and now they have an opportunity to hear Kenny sing for almost an hour.
Right.
But I think that the record is. I think the main focus of the record is to show the fact that Kenny can sing and that he does have a really good voice.
Absolutely. Now early on, man, I mean, the record obviously just out, and people are just starting to hear about it right now. How much fighting against your past do you have to do, since it is so different? I mean, are people accepting it as a new project, or has it solely been the guys from Type O have a new project? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, of course, initially that's what happens. It's it gets attention due to the fact that two guys from Type O Negative are in it. But it seems like, the people that are familiar with Typo and stuff, the reception for the record has been pretty good.
Sure.
I think, like what you described, most people realize, after first listen that it doesn't sound too much like Typo Negative. But people are getting off on the fact that now Kenny's voice is the focal point of what this is about.
Absolutely. Well, interestingly, so to speak, you guys as a collaboration of guys from a well-known band as Typo is, you hooked up with your label that is run by a guy that went off to do a new project after being in a very well-known band as well, with Vinnie Paul from Pantera. How does Vinnie end up in the picture, and how did he discover Seventh Void?
Well, it started innocently enough at a Damage Plan show.
Okay.
Damage Plan played in New York one night, and we were all hanging out afterwards. Typo and Pantera did quite a bit of touring together back in the mid-'90s. And since then, we've remained good friends. Whenever we would be in Dallas, they would come out and hang out. Whenever they came to New York, we would go out and hang out with them. And we just maintained a friendship throughout the years. So we're hanging out after a show. Damage Plan plays in New York, and we're just hanging out on the bus. And they start showing us, they pull out CDs, and they're showing us new Damage Plan material that they're working on.
Okay.
So then we pulled out our CD. I went back to the car, got our CD, and showed them what we had been up to. And Vinny and Don were really impressed with it.
Cool.
And anytime, saw them only, that was just a few days after everything happened with Dime in Ohio.
Right.
But I had been through town with Danzig quite a bit, been down in Dallas, and then anytime we were down there, anytime I was in Dallas, Vinny would come out, and he'd always, keep tabs on the band, how's it going, what's up with the band, what are you guys doing with it, and that kind of stuff. And we were working on mixing and stuff. Kenny and the other guitar player, Matt, basically produced the entire thing, and they really put a lot of time into the recording. And we were trying different studios and different approaches to mixing it and stuff, and we just felt that we needed a fresh set of ears.
Okay.
To work on it. And I had told Vinny, what was going on, that we were at the mixing phase, this and that, and he offered to take a crack at a song. He wanted to try mixing one. So of course I said yes immediately.
Right.
And sent him the song "Shadow on Me."
Cool.
And sometime later, he finally got the track back to me, and he was very in tune with what we were doing.
Cool.
And so from there, we sent him the rest of the record, and he and Sterling Winfield, who also worked on the Pantera records with Vinnie Paul, they handled most of the mixing. Kenny and I had gone down to Texas a couple of times to work with them, and while we were doing the mixing, Vinny, and from there there wasn't even checking scene or shopping around or anything like that,
Right.
It just seemed to be a really good fit. Vinny is he's a workaholic, and he's always doing something, and he has a great work ethic, and for doing something on an independent and stuff like that, it's a great person to work with.
Sure.
Because he's really been hustling, trying to make things happen for the record and stuff, and setting up a lot of the setup that goes into a release. He's really been hands-on, and his enthusiasm is really contagious.
Right. So then
it's been great.
So as a label with Monty and the Roadrunner crew, one of the biggest in the world, as a label head, do you think Vinny has that piece of it, the business piece of it that that maybe a lot of upstart labels don't have?
Well, his experience is really, a valuable asset.
Sure.
And, he's been on, he understands both sides of the spectrum. As far as the artistic aspect, and the business, he has a very good business sense.
Cool.
And, he's, his label, it's not just, it doesn't seem like it's just a hobby to him. He's really intent on making the label successful.
Sure.
And, his, he's basically a one-man army. And he's been able to get a lot of things done, of course, through his experience and his know-how, and along with he's met a lot of people along the way. Pantera was a really successful band.
Right.
So he's met, and and he learned from a lot of people, and he maintained relationships with these people also. So when he was putting this together, a lot of the people that he met in the past and has worked with previously, a lot of those people are starting to get on board with this.
Mm-hmm. Very cool.
So it's not like, just some kid, just releasing records, printing them in his garage, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. No doubt, man.
It's for real, What's great, too, is that his roster, it really isn't that big. There's us.
Yeah. There's you guys and his work. And
all of his resources and his time and, the time that, and his dedication is put towards Seventh Void. We wouldn't get that anywhere else. Whether it was a Roadrunner or a Nuclear Blast or a Epic or something like that, we're not going to get that same kind of dedication.
Sure. Well, with the record, man, I mean, when did you guys actually sit down and write the full thing? It sounds like this was something that's been piecing itself together for...
It would happen really what it would be was in between Typo tours and Danzig tours, and along with the other guys in the band, Matt and Hank, they're also busy also. That sounds stupid. They're also busy with other things.
Okay.
Other projects. Matt is an engineer. He's a monitor engineer. He travels. He works with Lou Reed.
Ooh. Okay.
And he also works with a few other acts, so that takes him out of town quite a bit too. So between the four of us, whenever we would have time, that's when we would work on it. And being that it was, something that we were working on the side, there really wasn't any pressure. We were able to work at our own leisure. Everything was very casual. So there was never really any necessity to really, hunker down and, get everything wrapped up as soon as possible and, meet deadlines or anything like that.
Sure.
So I guess that could be attributed to why it took so long.
Sure. Well, the one thing that you guys definitely brought to the table with the new album, Heaven Is Gone, is that while musically this thing is not comparable really in any way to the Typo stuff, certainly...
You have two guys that are in Typo Negative, so there are some things that are gonna be a little bit derivative.
Sure, but I mean I'm just saying that there's really no way that somebody's gonna listen to Seventh Void and say, oh yeah, that sounds like Typo Negative. I mean, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, but the one thing that is similar is some of the themes to some of the songs, Death of a Junkie and Drown Inside and, Killing You Slow, those themes those titles could easily be on a Typo record and nobody would blink an eye at it,
Oh, subject matter? Yeah, it's definitely there. It's definitely a correlation between the two.
Sure.
It's not a happy band.
I hear you, man. Well, when you worked on this record, you go into a new project with new bands, and I know you've worked with Danzig, and I believe you do some a Zeppelin tribute as well, where you work with another band. When you were putting this together, which is a new collaboration with new guys, is it different? Does it feel different, or do you kind of take the lessons learned from your previous work and bring that to the table when you're both writing and recording?
It's a little bit of both. the guys in Seventh Void, Matt and Hank. Matt I've known for years. He used to be in a band, Uranium 235,
Right.
which had the same management as Typo Negative, and they did a lot of touring supporting Typo Negative when we were out supporting October Rust, like in '96, '97.
Okay.
And I've been, both Kenny and I have been friends with Matt, since. And, with each band, I guess, everybody's, personality-wise, everybody's different. And each band does have its own way of doing things. And of course, you take all those experiences, and whatever situation I'm in, I try to apply that experience. Like for instance, with Danzig, we're in the middle of working on a new record.
Okay.
A lot of times, like my experience now, like with recording a record with them, he doesn't give me any preparation. He puts me in a recording studio, shows me the structure of the song, and then says go.
Right.
Typo Negative, we spent on the last record, Kenny and I and Peter, we spent months just rehearsing stuff, like while Josh was working on the DVD, and we just spent months in a room just working on riffs over, just playing stuff over and over and over again, just trying to see where it would go, creatively, different places and stuff like that. Doing the stuff like the Led Zeppelin tribute band, we don't even rehearse.
Right. Okay.
We don't rehearse. It's friends that I grew up with, and we just play, in the local neighborhood bars.
Right.
And really, it's just playing to our friends, and it's a great reason to go out, hang out, have a few drinks, and catch up with your buddies.
Sure.
So that's of course very casual, and so you take all that stuff and you become a sum of all your experiences, and but you always try to be accommodating and understanding and supportive, and try to just trying to make the best songs you possibly can.
Right on, man. Dude, one quick question.
Correlation.
Right. One quick question about Danzig. Obviously, and I know you know of this, but there was that video out there of the whole fight with him and that North Kings or whatever they were called, and I'm sure you're aware of that, and I don't want to get too much into that. Other than I'm just curious if that really changed how Danzig business goes, because one thing I do know about Danzig, throughout the years, is he was always a very, he's intense on stage, but he was rather laid back off stage and would, generally come out and meet with people and, sign autographs and stuff. Did that change his whole approach after that whole thing happened?
No, not really. I mean, the approach, I guess because I played with him before that happened, and I played with him after that happened. I just wasn't playing with him when it happened.
Okay.
Really, his take on things is still the same. It was just, I guess whatever, shit happens incident.
Right.
Oops. No, there isn't any extra security or any kind of practices implemented as far as tightening things up and stuff.
Sure.
He's still the same person. Still, he still signs autographs for fans and things like that. There's always people waiting by the bus, with the Misfit records and a lot of along that whole subculture. And he's still pretty accommodating with fans.
Well, that's cool, man. Well, dude, obviously, man, the new album from your new project, Seventh Void, is called Heaven Is Gone. And before I let you go, man, I got to ask you what is known as the traditional classic metal show question. We ask everybody this one, and you may just have an answer as well, because I'm sure you've run into this guy somewhere. How has Lemmy from Motorhead influenced your career?
Actually, when I was younger, one of my favorite records was the compilation No Remorse. and No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Really, like, not so much Lemmy, but more Motorhead.
Mm-hmm.
They were, I definitely had my Motorhead period, and I mean, really, he epitomizes rock and roll.
Right on.
He's up there with Keith Richards.
I hear you, man. Well, man, as we said, the new album is called Heaven Is Gone. It is the band's Seventh Void, and Johnny has a tradition on the show. We always let the artist pick a closing track. So what should we end the interview with, and what would you like to tell people about this song?
Do you have Overkill?
Oh, yeah.
Deny the Cross?
Absolutely. We could do that one.
Something Taking Over?
Sure.
All right, awesome. Overkill, we used to, when Overkill, I guess, was first starting out, basically they was, like a New York, New Jersey band. And I can't tell you how many times, Kenny, I went to go see them play at Lamar's. They used to play all the time. And it always seemed like Peter's band Carnivore was opening up for Overkill. And we used to go see them all the time. And, when I was like, 17, 18 years old, they always seemed like, they were larger than life, especially like, bringing in, the hydraulic drum risers, and like, they always had a great stage setup and stuff, and the shows were always packed, and a great live band. Yeah, it had a big impact on me when I was younger.
Well, let's check them out right now.
That song was always killer.
Nice. Well, let's check them out right now. Here is Overkill right here on your Classic Metal Show.
Thanks for checking out the Best of the Classic Metal Show. You can tune into the Classic Metal Show live every Saturday night from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Eastern, exclusively at www.theclassicmetalshow.com.
The Classic Metal Show.